Hi, everybody. Welcome to my book presentation. So my book, as I have said, is Coach the Person, Not the Problem, a guide to using reflective inquiry by Marcia Reynolds. Before I start, actually, has anybody here already read this book? Nice. Berner, I see. Lucy, no. I'm assuming, Christina, you've read it. Nasli, yes.
I actually read it again recently because it's very easy to forget. And once you read it again and again, you get a lot of other insights. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Alrighty. Next slide, please. I actually don't see.
It's coming.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Because, yeah, when I have to stop sharing if I want to see the screen again. So, yeah.
Got it.
Just,
All right. Perfect. So in this next half hour or so of this presentation, I'm going to go through a couple things. Here's the general agenda. So first, we'll just do an introduction. Who is Marcia Reynolds and my overall takeaways from the book? Then I'll talk about some overarching themes and what they meant to me and how I interpreted some of these lessons. So talking about reflective statements and questions, which is a really big part of this book, and different kinds of coaching, which I found to be very powerful. And then we'll end with some valuable tips, including a really lovely part from the book about curiosity and love for our clients. And I wanted to include this because it left a really nice impression on me, and so much of what Christina was just saying about how we as coaches have a good relationship with our clients. Next slide. Thank you. So who is Marcia Reynolds? This is just a background so you understand who the author is. She is a master certified coach. She is the former global president of ICF. She is currently the president of Co-Visioning, which is a leadership training and coaching firm. And she's written a number of books. So this one is the fourth one down. And I believe Breakthrough Coaching is her most recent book. I believe just a couple months ago, she released this one. Yeah. Has anybody already heard of Marcia Reynolds? Is anyone who maybe you haven't read her book, but are you familiar with her?
I have seen a couple of registrations, recordings where she was asked to have a short coaching sessions, and it was really powerful. So I read a lot of articles about her. Yeah, I know her in this way, so I don't know her obviously directly, but yes.
Yeah.
And I know her by reputation. She comes up in many different references around coaching and leadership. So she's a name I'm very familiar with, but haven't actually read any of her books.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, Lucy and Brenner, for sharing. And yeah, before I even read this book, I remember seeing her name through the WhatsApp posts from Christina and just hearing her name, also similar to what you both just said. So a very influential person in coaching for sure. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. So going into my overall takeaways, the first takeaway is about being present and using reflective statements and how this is more powerful and easier than seeking the magical question. So in this book, Marcia lays out very clear examples of powerful questions and powerful coaching. And I really appreciated also that she is very compassionate to the reader, and she understands that we are all learning and growing in our coaching skills. And sometimes there are difficulties and we need to be patient with ourselves. So talking about this magical question, she notes how it's quite natural in our progression as coaches to be looking for these, pre-planned questions, but, be patient with ourselves. It's all a learning and growing process. Next slide. Thank you. My second takeaway is the importance of being guided by the ICF principles. So throughout the book, I found it very valuable that she connected her lessons to the ICF principles, which makes a lot of sense. She talks about the foundations of coaching. For example, she defines the coaching conversation. How I've come to understand the coaching conversation is that it's distinct from a regular conversation where guidance or assistance is provided for problem solving, but rather in a coaching session, we emphasize facilitating the client's exploration through dialogue, enhancing their self-understanding, and empowering them to discover and cultivate their own solutions. So we are not problem solvers, we are thought partners. Some of the essential practices of coaching were focus, active replay, and we'll go through those in a bit. So yes, perfect. My third takeaway was about all the coaching foundations in light of the real life case studies that she shares. So I found it extremely valuable reading her case studies. These are her actual client sessions or her observing other coaches and their client sessions. So you can really see how the coaching techniques that she describes play out in real life with real situations and real coaching conversations. And this, even like by itself, if this was a whole book, just her case studies, I would have found that extremely valuable. Perfect. So this is all about the power of reflective statements and questions, which again is a very key core part of her book. So while I read this book, I reflected again and again that as a coach, my job is to embrace my role, which is just being the coach, where the coach guides through the coaching process the client's own potential to understand and unlock their own insights and abilities. So what does this mean to me? This means, number one, we need to let go of the need to find the right question. We need to let go of being perfect. So being present is more important than, trying to be perfect. And we also need to let go of the need to perform as coaches. For example, using this thing she talks about called checklist coaching. So what is checklist coaching? This is when coaches ensure that their questions follow the model that they were taught in coaching school, like to a T, which is more frustrating for the client than helpful, and also frustrating for the coach because we don't get to exercise our natural creativity and our true presence listening to our clients. My reflection about this is that it often happens, or it can happen, when coaches want to precisely follow the ICF markers one by one, like a checklist. This also might happen when we're coaching the what, not the who, because we're not actually listening that deeply to who the person is, but just kind of surface level, what is the problem that they're talking about. So I actually have a question for the group, and that is, what is your experience in relation to this idea of a checklist coaching? How does this resonate with you?
Nasli. Sorry, I saw a hand.
Sorry, yes, it is me. Sorry. My camera isn't working. Sorry. Hi, Eileen. I think with the checklist coaching, it takes you away from the focus and presence from your client because you're so focused on the questions that you need to get through that we're not listening with our whole selves. So I think as new coaches, it is quite overwhelming because you want the checklist, but it doesn't allow you to just really be present with your client. So that was quite a learning for me as well.
Thank you, Nasli. Birnor. Yeah.
I fully agree what Nasli says, but from my experience, I think it's a process also, that one. So for me, I think I needed to pass through from the checklist coaching. So in the beginning, now I know, but I didn't realize just in the beginning. So I had the list of questions in my mind. So I felt I was not present. I understood, at least by doing. So it was a process for me.
Thank you, Werner. Yeah, Lucy.
Yeah, I just want to say that yes, I agree. It's a process, but it's also not a linear process. Christine will know that I've done, I kind of have coaching conversations, have done for a long time with people, and I certainly didn't have a coaching process then. So now yeah, especially when you come to assignments, when you're kind of aware that there are certain things that the markers that you need to follow. I think it's a good thing at a certain point to try and use some, not a checklist, but some guiding parameters, because I think that's how you learn. But as I say, I don't think it's a linear. I think I've kind of didn't and now do, and then I hope over time I'll feel more comfortable, and then I can go back to not necessarily using them. But I think they are really helpful, to be very intentional. They are helpful. They're important. We shouldn't disregard them. I think it's only after maybe years of practice where you can let go of them completely. So I do think they have a value, but I understand why she says that. I guess that's the long term we're looking for.
Yeah. Thanks, Lucy. Jerry?
Hi, this changes my perspective. I thought that learning the lessons, we are going towards the checklist questions, but now it seems like it tells us that checklist questioning limits our, we should explore instead of following the checklist. We should explore with our client, with their thoughts.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, thank you everybody for sharing. Everything you've said super resonates with me, and I completely reflect that in my own training, my own journey. And I think something really important that multiple of you have said is how that this is all part of the process. It's part of the training. It's totally okay and even helpful, as Lucy and Jerry were saying, it's even helpful to use this kind of like checklist approach or really following the ICF markers. It's a passage that we all have to go through. It's not a negative thing. And I definitely had the same feeling where I was thinking, oh man, I'm not really listening to what my client is saying because I already am thinking of what is the next question that I've pre-planned to ask them with the next marker. But it's kind of this like give and take, being guided by the markers, but also listening carefully enough that I'm not just going through a checklist. So, yeah. Great.
Go back to sharing. Okay.
Thank you. So the next part is about using active replay in reflective statements and questions. So Marcia also talks a lot about active replay. When I reflect on what these words mean, active equals taking action, being proactive and being present. Replay means reflecting back to the client what they are saying using their own words, which is something that I've been really working on in my coaching practice. So what does active replay mean together? It means, first arrow up to this key, it's summarizing key points that the client has said. And second arrow, it means noticing emotional shifts without interpreting the meaning, and many other things. So reflecting their behaviors, beliefs, any fears they talk about, disappointments, or in a more positive side, like what are they excited about, conflicts of values, desires prompting their actions. So I found this part to be really valuable to me because in my first coaching sessions, I noticed that I sometimes tend to interpret what my client is saying through my own experience. So when I paraphrase it back to them, I'm not actually using their words, I'm using my own words. But I've learned that, or I am learning that it's more effective coaching and more insightful for the client also to hear their own words replayed back to them. Sometimes they will really emphasize a specific word, and if we reflect that back to them, they start to realize, oh, why was that so important to me? You know, how did that play into the self-definition? And I also reflected that using replay means that coaching can be more humorous, it can be more light, it doesn't have to be so, you know, serious or formulaic, because then we as coaches are able to have a real conversation with our clients and be more engaging. Great, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So a really important thing that Marcia talks about is horizontal versus vertical coaching. I want to show this concept because I found this from the book to be extremely powerful and helped me reflect on my own journey as a coach and where I want to be going. It also made me reflect on how I ask questions. So I wanted to share that horizontal coaching, the definition is when you use the initial client outcome as the sole destination for the session, which I think honestly is very natural when we just start out to be coaches. I definitely still do this myself. So the objective in horizontal coaching is we're formulating plans to move forward, but the result is that we can sometimes create very generic plans. And why does this happen? It's because the exploration by the coach stops at exploring the objective, also known as the problem, instead of going deeper into the person. So next slide, please. So a different kind of coaching is the vertical coaching approach. And this is also what moves us from the ACC level to the PCC and MCC level. So vertical coaching, the objective here is shifts are made at an identity level. So these shifts are more lasting ones. When you shift at the doing level, you will always need more support. But when you shift at the identity level, you help the person, the client, learn about themselves, not just making, you know, action plans for one-off problem. Coaching is—
And we have, sorry to interrupt you, we have some, or somebody was writing in the chat. I was just wondering because I couldn't see it. Can you see the slides? Can you all see the slides, or you cannot? Lucy, can you see the slides? I mean, not now, because I'm not sharing anymore.
When you were sharing, we were able to see your slides. Right now, because you're stopped to the sharing.
Well, now I stopped, but you were managing all to see the slides. Okay, great. Then I'll go back to share.
Thank you. I was actually wondering if my phone was on or something. I kept hearing the pinging sound. But great.
No, it's our application, and we're gonna get rid of that. But yeah.
Perfect. Lucy, can you see the slides now? Or maybe I can, if everyone else can see them, maybe Lucy, I'll just tell you what it looks like. So there's basically a tree that's full of leaves on the slide. It's just an image of, yeah, a big full tree.
Yeah. So then, Chiara, we can communicate to Damian and let him know that somebody's not seeing the sharing of the screen. Jerry, you're okay. Nasli, you're okay. And Birnor, you're okay. Okay. Great.
Nice.
Okay.
Great. So, yeah, going back to vertical coaching. Let me just see if someone said, yes, you can see. Okay, perfect. So with vertical coaching, Lucy, just so you know, now we have like outcome or arrow to personal relationship to outcome, and then an arrow to beliefs, biases, assumptions affecting actions. And there's just a bunch of questions, some sample questions for what these categories could look like. So I just wanted to illustrate this, not because we're, writing pre-planned questions, but rather just to illustrate or to visualize like what these examples could look like. And then about vertical coaching. So to me, this is the difference between states of being a coach. So it's a different level of partnership. One is not like the correct way, and horizontal coaching is the incorrect way, but it's rather a natural progression from, ACC to PCC level. Vertical coaching is a deeper quality of listening. It doesn't stop at the problem, but rather explores what this problem means to this person right now. So what are the beliefs this person holds? What makes this a problem that they want to bring up in the session? So going back to the last slide, the reason why I had a tree is because I visualize vertical coaching like a tree with many full branches. So it's not just one straight line from A moving directly to B, but rather in vertical coaching, we explore all the branches. When more leaves are uncovered, we can also change directions. And I reflected that this makes for a much deeper and full picture of the client's world and their way of being. Great. So if we just go back to the last slide, thank you. I just wanted to emphasize yet again, I know that I've emphasized this 3 times now, but horizontal and vertical coaching are both types of coaching. So coaching is a journey. We all start somewhere. I know that I've done horizontal coaching, and I'm really trying to become more about coaching the person, not just the problem. And I think that this is part of us cultivating a growth mindset, a learning mindset, as we're all in this training program together. So I want to actually ask the group another question, which is, how does this resonate with you? Do you have any experiences where you've reflected that you could have asked deeper vertical coaching questions versus a horizontal one?
And maybe we can also ask, what is your experience in terms of when does that happen? When you experience more horizontal coaching instead of vertical coaching, what's happening with you or in the relationship? And this is a good chance to reflect upon that, because then we can see from our behaviors. Lucy.
Hi, sorry, I've tried to join on Chrome, but I still can't see the slides, so I don't know. Anyway, I just thought that, and I didn't hear much of it, so I'm going to have to replay the recording, Eileen, and listen to that, because I was really interested. But I just from what I'm understanding, you're saying is that it may be more challenging when there's a sponsor involved, when there's a coaching and there's another sponsor, as in their line manager or company owner or whatever. I can imagine that may prove more challenging, but I didn't hear everything you said, so I'm just kind of making a suggestion there.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. It's a little bit different from the concepts, but I can see how it can fit. So yeah, horizontal coaching was more like we're coaching the what, not the who. So it's quite a linear line from A, here's your problem, let's have one plan, and then we're done. But it's not a long-lasting solution, because we're not coaching the being. And then vertical coaching is really more like we're understanding who the person is, we're listening more deeply, we're not following pre-planned questions, and we're also letting go of the need to follow the starting objective. We're actually following the client more. So I understand actually how your question kind of fits in, because I would assume maybe if you have a sponsor and they're saying the objective that I'm paying for this person to be your client is, XYZ. And so as the coach, maybe it's harder to do vertical coaching, because you're always thinking, oh, there's this one objective that the sponsor is talking about. That's what I would assume. I've never done coaching with a sponsor, but I can kind of see how that might fit.
Eileen, thank you for engaging in this conversation. Thank you, Lucy, for the answer. My question is, what is the challenge in your vision, Lucy?
I think actually Eileen put it quite well, and I'm in that there sometimes is an objective, and it's not necessarily an objective which comes. Well, of course, it needs to come from the client, but there probably is an influence. Let's put it that way. So I don't see that it's not possible, not at all. I think it's just something that that there's another dimension that, as Eileen said quite rightly, that there's potentially a sort of this thing that they expect to be moving towards, and that perhaps is not actually the thing that needs to be addressed. So I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I was asking, what is the challenge for you? Because if we, and then I will carry on when Eileen has finished, but if we address what is the challenge for you, because you experience coaching with sponsor and clients, then we can support you to understand that there is no difference. Sponsor or non-sponsor, we are coaching one client, and if you accept your coaching contract with a directive, let's say, how can I say that? With a directive a request from the sponsor to reach specific results, well, then it's not coaching, it's operating on a performance activity as consultant with a company in the organizational management activity. It's different from coaching. So the key to your answer to the challenge is in the agreement, in the let's say in the many meetings, in the different meetings, exploratory meetings that we need to have when we engage with sponsor and clients, because we always coach the person. And we can, of course, welcome and work with our clients in exploring and generating coachable results. Then we coach the human being and we coach the client. So there is actually no difference in what we say. When we coach within an organization and we are in a coaching engagement, this is the mindset that needs to be developed. That this is not just for Lucy, it is for everybody. When I welcome a new engagement with an organization and I meet the sponsor, we work on the coachable results, not on the directive request of the management to reach those specific results, because they need to match with the human being that I'm going to coach. And if we coach the person and not the issue, that's the revolutionary approach. So if we accept reaching a goal with clients for the company, we embrace a totally different role. Coaching is about partnering to embrace new perspectives and be comfortable in that situation. So also the manager who accept coaching in this level, otherwise, as I always say, we do something different. Well, then there has to be let's say, verification of what is coachable from what the company and the sponsor says and wants, what is the perspective of the client, and what does the client wants in relation to the company, let's say, vision, and then the definition, the co-definition, of course, of what is coachable and what is reachable and what is sustainable and what means something valuable for the client. But we will get back to these later on. So Eileen, guide me. Do you want me to share?
Yes, please.
And thank you for asking and engaging with these questions, because we can talk about that, and it is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very much also a key lesson from the book is kind of exactly this. We're always coaching the person, the human being. And that kind of leads me to this slide, which is about curiosity about our clients. So as coaches, we need to always act from a point of curiosity. We move from the problem that is being presented to us to being curious about who is my client, who do they want to become, and how are they currently operating in the context of who they are. So really the person that they are. This requires us to also be comfortable with not knowing the answers. So it requires a willingness to be uncomfortable in some respects. And I reflected about this, that being uncomfortable is something I need to actively remember and make okay for myself as I train to be a coach. I need to believe and embrace that my job as a coach is to create this safe and trusting environment to allow the client to access their own potential, to uncover insights and solutions. Again, I'm not the expert on the client is the expert on themselves, but I need to be the expert on the coaching process. And a really lovely thing that Marcia was saying is, and we should all remember and know, is that human beings are smart and creative. So that's our clients, and of course, it's also ourselves. And if we believe this about ourselves too, it makes it easy to look and really be able to understand our clients' greatness and really believe in their own abilities. So just something to remember and keep in mind. Next slide, please. And this is the ending note. So I loved this ending quote from Marcia, just go love them. To me, this means coming to every session with this thought in mind. It means that I take the time to reflect on my role as a coach and how I deeply believe that my clients are smart and amazing people. Reminds me that my job is not to try to solve anything, but rather to understand my client deeply and to partner with them. So I'm going to bring this reflection to my sessions. And I hope this will also help me let go of this kind of subconscious desire that I've noticed, that I want to feel like I know where the client should be going, because that's not what we learn and practice in our coaching program. We're not there to kind of understand already where they're going and then lead them there. We're really there to partner with them. And I will say one really lovely thing about the book, if you pick it up and give it a read, is Marcia goes through this exercise that she does with imagining an elevator. So it goes from her mind to her heart to her gut, and each place it stops, she really lets like the love and caring for her client really like fill her whole being. So whenever she goes into a session, she's done that practice and she goes with a big open heart. And this is something I thought was really, really nice. Yeah, so thank you. That's my presentation on this book.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for sharing your interesting and curious and creative work. You picked important aspects, important elements, and I'm glad that you mentioned a few of the very important key elements of the development of the ICF competencies. You created a light and creative and very succinct, but also focused work. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is our Sunlight Academy. If you want to become a certified life coach and find out more about our accredited coaching education, be part of our global community and learn about our programs, you can visit our website, sunlight.academy, and get in touch with us. We are more than happy to meet you.